Welcome back. Well, if you've become your own worst enemy with an I can't attitude, unfortunately, you're not alone. But the good news is we've got Dr. Ahern here to help us rewire our brain and help us snap out of it now. Thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure.
You have kind of taken a hiatus from your clinical psychology practice to write a book, do a public television show, and your message is basically, if you have a negative pattern where, you know, it's manifesting negative things in your life, it is possible to change.
I bet it is. Yes. Actually, that's my second book, Back in Charge, which will be in the bookstores at the end of May. And really, it is, we can do it. We're all hearing about neuroplasticity these days, about the brain can change. And what my work is really to show people how to do that, to show them that there are very simple, basic steps in which we can acknowledge what's not working, recognize that that is a simply conditioned belief, and it's really not the truth of who we are. And then by going through some very basic steps, we can choose the belief that will serve us and then practice and make that a reality so that our behaviors and actions and the way we feel about ourselves are in alignment with that new belief.
Yeah. I've had a really interesting experience lately. I had a medical condition called vertigo where everything spins and you're crazy dizzy, and I've been getting treatment and it's getting better. But at an appointment yesterday, the physical therapist, we were doing exercises where she says, you're going to be uncomfortable, but you have to work through this pain. And that sounds like exactly what you're trying to communicate.
Absolutely, because you know what I often say to clients in the workshop that I'm doing this evening, I often have to let people know is affirmations and positive thoughts, thinking is really great, but that's my fourth step.
One, two, and three. You got to get through those. You got to get through
those three so you can pave the way so that your brain and your body and you can accept that new belief that's going to work for you. So really you have to acknowledge, number one, what's not working. You know, we don't want to talk about negative thoughts and patterns, but you know what? Those are more powerful than our positive thinking, and our positive thinking
and if you hide from the truth, you can't deal with what that is.
Exactly. So one of my phrases is face it or get chased by it.
Oh, I like
so
it.
we have to acknowledge what's not working and recognize, you know, a big part of that first step is recognizing it's not the truth of who we are. It's really false truths that we have been repeating, and therefore, because we've been repeating these false truths, they've become linked neurons forming pathways and actual substance in our brain. So it's really not just a fleeting thought or a lightly held opinion. It's something we have to address.
Okay, so uncovering what it is, number one.
Yeah, acknowledging what it is and uncovering it. Number two is really identifying it clearly and feeling it. Feeling the negativity of it, which is not so comfortable sometimes.
No.
Right.
I knew growing up that I never felt like I was super strong in science. And, you know, here I am a meteorologist now, and, you know, and I remember thinking, for some reason, that my brother was the smart one and I was the creative one. And that somehow, I think that got implanted in me, and it took me years to sort of say, no, that's just something I thought, but that doesn't mean it's true.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, Renee, I had the same sort of thing happening to me when I was in 3rd or 2nd grade. I had this belief that I wasn't smart. And so I worked, that belief made me work harder than anyone. You know, I graduated at 16 from high school, went to UCLA, got a master's, second master's, PhD, all to make myself feel better about myself. It wasn't until I became a psychologist that I recognized, my God, I've been living with this belief that's been driving me, and it's false.
Right.
So you can, and that's really why I wrote the first book, Snap Out of It Now, because I was having to snap out of my own negative thought of that I'm not intelligent, so that I can finally find what it is that I want to do and how can I best serve others.
So we've acknowledged it, we've clearly defined it, and
felt it. The second is clearly define it and feel those feelings that are associated with it.
That's tough. That's
right.
a toughie.
So the second, really, it's identifying the thought and feeling the feeling associated with that thought. So number 2. 3 is cleansing it. We have to cleanse that thought from our brain and the feeling from our body, because the hardwired thought has infiltrated our whole system.
A couple of ideas on how do we do that?
Well, exactly. The most important process is belly breathing, if you can believe it. Everybody talks about breathing these days, but it's absolutely essential to get into that big diaphragmatic breathing where you fill all 3 lobes of your lungs, belly comes out, very softly and slowly and deeply, and using the breath, you can acknowledge the thought and feeling, that difficult feeling on your inhale. And as you exhale, you release it from your body.
Wonderful.
The breath is the only thing that can activate the parasympathetic nervous system and actually activate the relaxation response.
We are almost out of time, so let's just get to the fourth step, and then we'll talk about your
Fourth
workshop.
step is rewire the brain. Insert a new disc. Insert that new positive belief that's going to work for
come
you.
in.
Exactly. But you have to acknowledge it, feel it, and cleanse it before you can actually plug in a new thought that's going to really start to work for you.
So I know I'm dating myself, but remember those old Saturday Night Live, Stuart Smalley, I'm good enough and smart enough and gosh darn it, people like me?
Yeah.
Well, we've got to do some work before we get to that step.
Exactly. And that's what this Get Back in Charge workshop this evening in La Jolla is about. It's helping people that are feeling sort of lost or doom and gloom sort of about this financial and career situations that they're in right now, and helping them see that when they shift their focus, they can actually start to create things that serve them better, have choice, and make better decisions.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Ahern. Again, your workshop is tonight, 6 to 9 in La Jolla, and you're going to help us regain that competitive edge. And I know there's so much more great information on your website, too.
There is.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
All right.
Some great tips.